Sharon.
So he's saying the picture of this is today.
What are you?
Yeah.
Which one?
Like the pictures of like the skyline last year.
Oh, the skyline.
I thought with the snow.
Buildings going on. That's New York.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So maybe it's because the skyline is so much
We're right in the heart of it all.
Okay.
You're not, it's not.
Yeah, last night it felt like super humid, but it wasn't.
Okay, yes, I can see we are live. It's 7 o'clock, so let's get started. This is the meeting of the Clintonville Area Commission Zoning and Variance Committee, 7 p.m. Okay, I can actually see us on YouTube, so actually it's working. Do I have any objections to the agenda? Approved without objection. Consider the draft minutes from the previous meeting that were circulated with it. Do we have any corrections? If not, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
For a second.
Second.
Let's do just for,
Yes. I'll abstain.
I'll vote yes, there's here.
Yes.
Approved by a vote of 4-2, 4-0. Now we're on to the variance agenda, and just so you know how things work for folks here, we will have, I'll announce each of the variances, then we'll give the applicant a chance to make a presentation if they want, then we'll have a comment. There's one of the commissioners this year. We'll allow the commissioner from the district gets a chance to make a comment. Then we have questions from the committee. Then it goes to you, and I promise you, even if you want to jump in and say something while someone else is talking, that will be your chance. Everyone who comes here who wants to comment will get their chance to comment. So let's move on, and then it comes back to the committee for vote and discussion. 69, 199 East Schreier Place. Application, the applicant seeks a variance to increase the maximum garage height from 15 feet, and I believe it's 18 feet 6 inches is what you decided?
Well, no, the architect says that it could be 18.3. It really depends on the thickness of the dimension shingles.
Well, I think, pick which one you want to ask.
Well, again, it's not gonna be over 19 feet.
Okay, why don't we say to 19 feet?
Up to 19.
Let's make it to 19 feet. Okay, that's what we'll vote on.
19.
That way, yes. So you can make it, the floor is yours to talk.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing my application. My name is Jim Bracken. I live at 199 East Schreier Place, which is just north of Henderson. We seek a variant to have a taller garage than 15 feet. Well, first of all, I want to also thank Mr. Hardwick for suggesting that I go see my neighbors. So I have statements from, not statements, I made a form that says I don't object, and they signed it. And although some did write comments like they want to do a garage that big too. There's a frustration with bending over and walking around in a garage that's too short. We want to build the biggest garage that's functional. It's going to be 25 by 25. It fits very nicely in my yard. If it's 18 feet tall, then we'll have a nice peak as opposed to a short and squat garage. I have a current garage right now. We're going to be vacating it. It's attached to the house, and there's no access from the house to the garage. It's a Clintonville house from 1937. And I've been living under a loft in the garage where we deliver the car. It's about 40 square feet. It's not very big. And everything's hanging from the ceiling. I want to avoid that in my old age. We could build a 25 by 25, 15-foot garage with a loft in the back. 25 by 4 square feet, and I'd be bending over underneath it. And the cost of a garage, when I had an estimate in 2019, was $35,000 to $40,000 for a 15-foot high garage. The cost now is about $50,000. And to get what I want, an 18-foot high garage with 250 square feet of storage space on the upper floor using attic trusses, will cost me $60,000. So if I'm gonna spend $50,000 for something I don't want, 15-foot garage, I'll pay gladly another $10,000 to get a big garage that I do want, that will be completely functional for the rest of my life and increase the value of the property. It's gonna match the house. The house has vinyl siding, it's linen in color, 5-inch exposure. The garage will have the same thing. It has dimension signals. The house has dimension signals that are new. I put them on in 2019. The garage will have the same sort of dimension signal. The front porch of the house has arches. Will have the same arches. But most importantly, because my attached garage at the moment opens to the rear, right? That's where the overhead door is. This new garage will eliminate the one eyesore on my house, which is a front door, a door to the garage which opens off the front porch. So that people think that I have two front doors, only once to the garage and once to the house. It's a 30-inch door. The garage at the moment is 19 by 17 feet. When the car is in the garage, if you pull ahead too far, you can't open that goofy door off the front porch. So with this new garage, I'm going to solve a lot of problems, and it should be very attractive from the street.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Just one thing, your current garage is attached to your house?
Yes.
And that's coming down?
No.
No, okay.
That's going to be converted into a bonus space,
Okay.
mother-in-law suite, library.
Okay, I just wanted,
Yep.
thank, Commissioner, Mike Weinman, do you have anything you want to say?
No, thank you. So good.
Okay. Now it's questions from the committee.
Will be running water? Always worried, concerned about is how people use that space, besides storage. I understand what you want.
Existing garage, and I wouldn't want to do it, well, I wouldn't want to do it in a 15-foot garage. I want a garage you can park a Suburban in. Now, if there's ever an EV Suburban, that would be cool.
Any other question? Did anyone here come to speak on it? And we want to see is the paperwork he submitted about the neighbors. That Andrew, you have to, at this, he's taking the minutes, he's going to take pictures and they'll go to the commission. Okay, so no one came to speak on it. Do we have any discussion? I have a motion on the floor to approve that. Any discussion?
I move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, then. Start with
This falls well below our kind of semi-agreed upon height that we don't feel like father concerning anymore, but so yes.
Comment on that is we're concerned because of the height variances, the addition of habitable space in the garage, I don't see that as being concern here with the height and so, yes. Yes. Yes.
although yes as well, and just, I used to try to have a procedure if someone wanted a garage like variance this small, that we would check with folks, check with the commissioner and say, you don't even need to show up, and then all of a sudden a bunch of opposition showed up unexpected, so we didn't want to put them in that position. So thank you for coming, thank you for improving
Just to make sure we're clear, we're talking about 19 feet now on the application.
Yes, we voted on that.
We're gonna buy trusses and 2x4s that are really not 2x4.
Oh, no, we didn't. We just want-
it's not a problem. That's what I was assuming we were voting on. I just want to make sure
Okay,
that that's what's going to end up.
it's 19, oh, thank you, it's 19 feet, since we announced that at the beginning.
You don't want to come down.
You are allowed to state, the next step is the full commission, which
That's
is next Thursday.
At the
and-
library.
Yes.
Yes.
And you should-
Do I need to bring those papers again?
No, they're gonna go to that we're gonna send.
It was a real good experience to go talk to my neighbors about this, because they all want bigger garage.
We're here every month. We're here every month.
Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, now on to CV 23045-299 Walhalla Road. We seek 5 variances, is set for the agenda to permit an accessory structure, which is a private garage on the parcel offsite of the primary parcel with a single-family dwelling to which the proposed garage is accessory. Area lot width requirements for construction of a building on a lot with the width measured at, I think it's at the front line, not at the front line. At the front lot line of less than 50 feet by reducing 50 feet to 0 feet. I copy these word for word, so, because the existing parcel doesn't front on a public street as defined for the butts 2 alleys. R3 area district requirements to reduce lot area from 5,000 square feet to 3,049 square feet, permitted detached garage as a principal building on an existing parcel. Fronting to permit the construction of a detached garage on an existing parcel without street frontage, and minimum side yard permitted to reduce the minimum side yard at the southeast corner of the proposed garage from 3 feet to 1.5 inches due to the irregular shape of the parcel. And those are as described in the email from council. You know, I see Mr. Bulge is here. Is council?
No,
Okay.
they vary not, but,
Okay. The floor is now yours.
thank you guys for the time. So a little bit about us. Actually, when we moved to Columbus 10 years ago, I moved on to Lane, ended up going to Wyland Park for a little bit, and now it's always been more of a dream of ours to be either on Walhalla Ravine or Overbrook Ravine. So when the opportunity came for the property at 299, we jumped on it, knowing full well that we were going to do a renovation to it, to what we would like to see on the ravine. And at the beginning of it, had no plans to be taking down the garage. Working through with our mechanical system, we are, spray foaming, high efficiency homes, solar panels on the roof. But what came down to is the geothermal. In order to do the geothermal, we had to take down the garage structure that was on the site because of the tubes, and we're doing a vertical system, so it goes straight down, but it needed enough drills to where the garage had to come out in order for the system to work. With all that said, I shared a little bit of the elevations that we have on the house. I shared the elevations of the garage. Definitely will be lower than the 15 feet height. We're doing a shed roof to keep it as great as we can as it relates to keeping it in the natural setting. We're looking at doing actual wood siding. We're looking to do a green roof made of moss or grasses on the property at hand. So with that, I know, recently we got the arborist letter. I'm actually working with my architect to whether the slab becomes a turn down slab or whether I create grade beams to where all you do is dig helical piers that are probably about a foot wide, and then you stretch the grade beams to where it's not invasive on the tree itself except for that small area. So we're looking at all different types of options. The last thing I want to do is take down trees. The beauty of what the ravine is because of the trees, we're going to be planting a substantial amount of trees on the property, looking at doing some erosion control and additional trees along the ravine side. We've hired a natural native landscape architect, Urban Wild, who does a lot of these kind of restorative options for landscaping. With all that said, rain collection is going to definitely take part. We're trying to make this thing as efficient as possible. we have this parcel, it kind of got split off once they added that as a parking pad. Most of the area that the garage is going to be on is actually where the parking pad was, and does not invade into the trees or brush or anything like that. Trees in the area that we would be looking at doing that turn down slab or pier system instead of trying to dig a full foundation. I'm just here to answer any questions that you all might have.
Just to specify, I should say, we have, when there's opposition, usually we do, we have, after the public comment, we give the applicant one last chance to respond. So people are commenting, we can wait until the end and we'll get, just kind of make a mental note of stuff you want to say. Okay, so questions from the committee?
Yeah, just to clarify that the existing garage, so the house, you got the alley, then there's an existing garage. Isn't there a single family home on that lot as well? And is that on a separate parcel?
Separate parcel. So there is no more so what it was is we have the main structure where we're building. There was a garage on that parcel.
Right.
We had to take that down in order to install the geothermal. You then go across the alley and there is a triangular odd-shaped parcel that we own. And then there's the parcel of my neighbors just to the east. And that has a parking pad next to my current parking pad and their garage where my garage will be. It'll all be obviously on my parcel.
Okay.
The garage that you took down, why can't the new garage go with that garage?
Because of the geothermal system. And so, because of the piers going in, the other thing, and to be perfectly clear, I have a 2.5-year-old and a 3-month-old, and we're trying to, keep as much immediate play area for them as possible. And we have this parcel that's already being used as a parking pad, and we figured that's the best use for the space.
And the size of the garage is not the.
I believe it's 22 by 24.
It's gonna be half line?
It'll probably end up being about 12 feet. It's just a shed roof. So the shed roof is you have a 10-foot front section, and then you'll have probably 1 foot or so truss system, and it just slopes right back. So the tallest peak will be roughly about 12 feet.
So the roof is gonna be,
I'm looking at doing a green roof, and so it'll be moss, grasses.
I know one of your neighbors, I think, maybe commissioned a tree
Yes.
study.
I can't do
I believe one of the neighbors commissioned like a tree study, for some trees that are out there. And I think you had mentioned you were looking at tree preservation as well. Have you reached out to anybody or can you provide any additional details on how your garage would impact existing trees?
Yeah, so that goes back, I'm working with my architect to change the foundation plan to where it'll have, whether it's a turn down slab, which you don't dig down as far, or you just do the silo tubes, that's if you're building a deck. And so the basic piece of that is far less. And then what it's called is a gray beam, and whether it's metal or a concrete beam, you just extend out to connect into the foundation of the area that really wouldn't affect a tree.
So
And
it's less damage to roots.
Yeah, exactly.
if we approve this, how do we know that that's actually going to be it's done?
Well, it's sort of,
I'm sorry.
did I see the pier
Oh, I'm sorry.
foundations in the drawings, in the construction drawings? Is that what
No,
I'm saying?
it is a base, it is a standard foundation that is in the drawings today. And so all this came about, probably in the last 2 months, once the mechanical system, the HVAC system, they came out and said we cannot put the geothermal in. I'm cost and everything associated with it, like it would have been great to have left the garage where it was.
Just it's because my phone is having a hard time staying connected.
Oh, yeah.
So, my question was, I mean, with commercial properties, right, if they have a particular design, we can stamp that and it has to be built that way. Right. How can you do
That's on-
that on the residential? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I'm saying I appreciate what you say, that you're gonna do to try to save trees and everything like that, but there's no, I'm unaware of any mechanism within this process that holds you to those things that you're saying.
Yeah, and I can't guarantee that I can do them.
Right.
I'm just saying,
You're looking into it. You
the
don't know if you
last,
can.
yeah, the last thing I wanna do is cut down trees.
Right.
When will you know whether you do that? Not before next Thursday.
Definitely not before next Thursday.
If you were to find that your alternative slab or foundation was not possible, what would you plan?
Honestly, my plan would probably be moving forward with the garage. Yeah.
You said, and obviously I can tell you wouldn't want to cut down trees, but the problem here, and I read through, I didn't understand all the arborist talk, but what I did get is not immediate damage or death to a tree, but the process starts of this tree then deteriorating. So, you know, you wouldn't cut down a tree, but you might kill it in the end anyway. I guess I would wanna know, and we can't, you're right, there's not a mechanism for
Right.
how we assure ourselves that these trees are gonna be taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, I can't guarantee you by doing the grading or
When
turning
you
on
talked to
slab.
the arborist, did you discuss you talked to the arborist?
I have not.
Okay, when you talk to an arborist, I guess it would be good to maybe talk to the same guy again. And I don't know, maybe somebody, one of the neighbors has of this turn down slab idea, sounds like a good idea. I'd like to know, does it work? How common is it? What, you know, what's the mechanism for that? And just, you had a garage that was attached to the house, and so it's almost creating your own hardship. You know, to say I have a hardship because of this, when indeed you had everything fine before you tore down that second garage. I know what you were doing, I get it, I understand that your interest was in improving it in a different way, but to say then that I have to have this variance when there was a garage in the proper place where you wouldn't have needed one. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair to say. But one thing I did leave out is I have full city staff approval. I just got that.
I forgot, I
Yeah.
did not get that sent out.
Yeah.
That part I did not get sent out. Oh, I see, he's forwarded to me an email from
No,
okay, that's just an insight, that doesn't contradict anything you just said.
But I don't think that in the staff report, do they ask for input from the arborist, the city forester? So, you know, that's where we're talking.
Yeah.
I get the other parts, I know that. Okay, thank you.
Just trying to rush stuff to get stuff out of there. Got so much stuff coming at the last minute. I'll make sure, I can send that to, actually, maybe I should get something to, that will work. I'm gonna read it, so that we're all on the same page. It just said, it was a simple email, today at 1:07 PM from Barrett, Rayfield in the city. Good, planning is in full support of this proposal, period. The elevations are consistent with the Clintonville neighborhood plan, 2009 design guidelines. And that was it. Because earlier they expressed concern. I understand, and I'm sorry, part of my, trying to make sure that's running, it's my attention.
Yeah.
Left.
Yeah.
Did you say because of the geothermal, that's why you took down the garage?
Yes,
So why wouldn't the garage work where it was?
because of the borings that they had to create in order for us to get the geothermal system that we need for the house. They needed more borings to where they couldn't, the garage was taking up a lot of land.
Has the geothermal already been installed?
It's about to be, I mean, all the inside mechanicals have been installed, it's just a matter of connecting it in.
I have a question. Could you help me understand, where the unnamed alley is in relation to your house?
So here's, this is all alley.
We need to show them,
Sorry.
we need to show, we need to take, if the alley was on the right side.
It was not attached to the house, but
And then this, so where is that in relation to the
so Gut Run Road stops here, and that is just an alley. It has, this is the
If someone
unnamed
wants to come
alley,
look at what they're
and
doing,
then,
I think they're just describing your neighborhood, but if you wanna come look over their shoulders, you're welcome.
and
to come
then
look over.
as it moves probably about right here, there's another alley behind, and all these, like all the homes along here, their garages are alley fed as well. So it would just be keeping with what the neighbors' garages are.
And then the unnamed alley, is that public? Is that a public road?
Yes. So like when I was going through this process, I was trying to like, what address do I use, what, and they're like, we don't have one, because of that.
Yeah, one advice I have for commissioners before they go, if they can go take a look at, just look at the lot, everything that helps. This is, Walhalla is its own world.
Yeah. So I actually, I had to type in like 299 Gut Run for deliveries, like all of it.
Yeah, don't go to, don't follow your GPS to
Yeah.
299 Walhalla. That won't do you any good. Did anyone want to come up and take a look at the drawing that they were looking at on the screen?
Is it the same parcel, or is it two different parcels?
It's two different parcels, that's why the variance. And so like if that alley never split, right, then it would have been one parcel, and I wouldn't need a variance because of my main, the accessory building of a garage wouldn't have needed because my main structure is on the same parcel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
I'm assuming you saw the tree report.
Yeah.
How close, did it say in the report how close those trees are to the garage?
So, it did not. I know that one of them is, I'm main concerned, and one of the landscape architect is really concerned about one of the trees, and that's where, like, I'm working with the architect to figure out how to handle that corner.
That's tree number one.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah,
The other one is 50 feet behind 332 Gut Run Road.
I was getting asked for a exhibit from I actually called them, it was 4:59, they closed at 5. I called them to see if they could send over an exhibit, just so I knew exactly what tree 1, 2, and 3 were. But obviously I couldn't get a hold of them. I'll call them again tomorrow and I'll have that for the full commission. But again, name of the game is preservation.
I think when you go to the commission, if you bring what you want, they have a screen behind them
Yeah.
there, and if you bring a memory stick with this, they'll
Perfect.
put that stuff on.
Yep.
Whose address is 332 Gut Run Road? That's mentioned in the
Is that you?
report.
Oh, I can't see him. I'm a senior citizen. I can't hear what through some microphones in a
Alright.
public meeting. I can hear you now. Yes, I'm not
That's
betrayed,
your
I
address.
can't speak yet.
That's your address.
Clarify your-
If you'd like to come.
No,
you
that's
want-
my address.
You wanna sit at the table, so you can hear us?
I'll sit at the edge. How's that?
No, you can sit right there.
I don't want to obscure anyone's
But
sight line. Thank you very much.
But that's your address,
Yes, 3-1.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay. Do any other questions from the committee before we go forward to allow comment?
Have you worked with your architect at all to come up with alternative designs, layouts for the garage that could site it differently on the parcel to kind of alleviate some of your neighbors' concerns regarding the trees?
The issue is the 5 feet that I have to have the garage sit back on from the alley in order to have turn radius. Otherwise, I wouldn't meet the radius of the city and never be able to get approved. And so that then like lends itself to, that dictates everything, right, on the building itself. So, and like I said, if you look at the parcel on, like, it's just a very awkward.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Any other comments? Okay. I hear questions from the committee. Go once, going twice. If you could take your name and the street you're on, and then you have.
I'm Louise Cox, 332 Govern. Owning the property since 1997. Before I address anything historical, I'd like to address a couple of specifics. In order to install the piping, I've watched them build for the thermal system. I watched this whole house religiously, and I remember this beautiful home that was built with the geothermal system, and all of that was done ahead of time, even before pouring the concrete or the basement or anything. That was done ahead of time. So I don't know if they're, we would probably need to have provided how far away, actually a schematic of all these pipes, I think would be needed. This afternoon, the original garage pad was taken up by a bulldozer, and all parts there in a big pile. I like your comments, so I don't know your name, but as I look at the property, one could pull into the drive and then have the garage slide up this way, the entryway that way. It would not obstruct that much any view from the home. The home is quite wide. It's, I think, using the maximum that you can possibly build on a lot. This happens to be, there were 2 lots that were combined for the last owner or the one before. So that there's plenty of room. And there's also an area to the left. As far as alleys, that is a dedicated alley, by the way, and it appears on maps as a dedicated alley. And the alley is, I talked to the postal service person when they were delivering the mail. One of the reasons, because I have a nephew who lives on an alley, and they give him a free post office box because normally the post office does not deliver to alleys. But because of the uniqueness of Walhalla and that steep ravine, when you go down the main street, they decided, if you take a look at the original maps, there was like an alley before, somewhat to accommodate a corner house, but if they wanted to build more houses in that beautiful area, they had to extend that. So they extended Gudrun, dedicated it, and then there's a cul-de-sac in the back that goes, I think 2 houses, and then they come back. And also, I mean, for me, the first thing was the fact that it's not attached, and the first thing on the coding, Columbus zoning and coding for houses and structures is you cannot put a garage on a parcel that does not have a house on it or is already under construction. And there's ample room. There's also still ample room for a play area for children. I'm a great-grandmother, I'm a great-aunt, I've had kids, I know kids, and we want to keep that area safe. The mere fact that the garage would be across the way, I can't imagine anyone storing the kids' toys in a garage and going back and forth, and at some point the kids might even decide, that's my garage, I'll go across. I may be getting off topic, I don't mean to, because I know this is serious. The 3,049 feet is actually only 3/5. That's not a good percentage to talk about historically, but 3/5 of what is needed to build on a parcel. The parcel is only 19 feet at the bottom and 38.8 at the top. So you're asking to expand it to 50. We also have a relatively new electrical pole at the corner of Gudrun and the alley behind my property where all these other garages are, because that was the point of the alley when alleys were established historically. If you lived on that alley, then you put the garage behind it on the alley you were on. You didn't even, the trees, the arborist, I don't know if it was, one of the trees might be amongst the oldest oak trees. Now that's a shared tree between the two of us. That's tree number 1, I believe. Tree number 2 is totally on my property in the corner that's right on the alley. The 3rd tree was of interest to the arborist because it was also a white oak that was quite huge. And again, we're talking the Valhalla district, Columbus, the city of trees. And I remember when I was looking at the history of trees in Columbus, Ohio, and one of the concerns Columbus had was that cities around them and in other parts of the country have all these regulations for trees. Now, Columbus has come up to date with any regulations for public land or playgrounds. If they take a tree down, they have to build 5. Plant 5. On private property, there's only one place where the city has authority, and that is for any tree that has more than 50-inch girth. The tree we're talking about has about 210 girth and a diameter of 50. And the canopy is over 90 feet. And unfortunately, if it ever comes down, you and I have to share the cost, and we can share the firewood. Because I know you're going to have, I know you have several, your house is beautiful. You have all these areas that you're going to look out over Valhalla. And you've got the house, the sunroom there, another patio there, you've got another patio there. You've got the rock face over the ravine. I think the arborist talked about how many kilowatts of electricity I would save that I would be glad to give to the last fella for his garage and his EV charger. I think it'd be wonderful if I could do that. And then there's the 3 feet variance for 1 foot 5 inches. The history of this was that they were trying to make it accessible for people to build a house up there. And in fact, there was another road that was supposed to go straight through, but they never put it through because of the ravine. And it would be difficult, plus it would destroy a big swath of trees. And interestingly enough, when I bought the house in 1997 with my husband, the people neighboring you had a parcel that was the corner of my front yard. And we bought that about, let's see, how we've had 23 years? 26 years we've had the property. About 5 years in, we bought that parcel, and that way we can maintain it and take care of it at the corner of our property. And if you look at the picture, well, you know what's interesting? The architect never put my home or my garage on this drawing, which I was surprised that they wouldn't have included it. But, and at the bottom, there's a little tiny sliver, and up to the middle, you can see what I purchased. At the time we were buying the house, my husband, who's a civil engineer, contacted downtown, Columbus, Front Street, the main people, and asked about whether or not it'd be worth it for us to spend $16,000 for that parcel, because that's what the person who owned it said, they'd be willing to sell it for. And the person at the city said, no, it's an unbuildable lot, why waste your money? And, in 2020, the current owner called me out of the blue, I think it was in January, I have the emails and recording that, and said, would you like to buy that? I'm planning to move. I go, yeah. What? Not the current, yeah, the previous owner. This is,
That would be weird.
What?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. And, she said, would you like to purchase it? And I said, yes. I said, we'll have to talk about price. I looked it up, saw what it was valued at, which was about $3,000 on the city auditor's planning system. And I also looked up all these other places that were these little tiny pockets of land that were about the same acreage, and what they did with them and what they paid for them. Because of course, if you want to buy something, you're going to do some due diligence to make sure you don't pay too much. So I came back and I'll offer $6,000. I'll double the price of what the city says it's worth. Nope, she didn't care for that idea. So we talked some more, We had a lot of conversations on the phone and some emails. And I said, well, what do you want for it? She said, $10,000. I said, let me think about it. And then I thought, okay, just to assure that it stays that treed area, even though that parking pad used to be an area where there was a swing set, and it was like the neighborhood green area kids would play. And that remember, we're talking from the 1940s. So I said, I'll buy it. And she said, well, I've got to, figure this out, and I've got to get the city of Columbus. She sent me the form that I would need from the city of Columbus, even when we were talking. She said, it's easier to sell 2 parcels, but you can't combine them, because they're not contiguous. So then we communicated again, I said, is it on the market yet? She said, no, she's still figuring it out. She's getting surveys, she's doing this. And I said, well, what realtor are you using? She said, well, I'm gonna be my own realtor. I've got a license. And then she went to Arizona for about a half a year, came back, and we still communicated. And then I hadn't heard from her, and I figured I would be hearing from her when I saw that she was gonna be selling the property and stuff. But the next thing I know, it was sold without a chance for me to, and that was all neighborly and in goodwill. And I just figured, not like much I can do about it. But with regard to all these variances, and reading the code, if you don't have a house, you can have a garage. I think you've probably seen all my emails to Mr. Hardwick, because I'm sure he copies everybody. And as I would to be expected. And interestingly enough,
I didn't tell him that you opposed it. You're the one who said.
I'm opposed to this.
Oh, no, it's a different neighbor then, a different neighborhood who only was concerned about access.
Pardon?
Are you the one who wrote me about access to, where to have access to your garage? I don't remember.
No, I'm the one I'm the contiguous neighbor.
Okay,
That's the neighbor that has the most at stake,
okay.
other than the whole neighborhood, which.
Oh, I understand that.
No, I'm that one. And I don't feel that there are valid reasons for giving this request, and laws because of they're building on a cliff, so they have to move back a little further, so the half the house doesn't hang over, you give a variance, so they can use their property. And, there was something I was gonna mention, but now I can't even, it slipped my mind, but and the tree, oh, I know what it was. So I'm thinking, I was looking at your design, and I thought, this is nice, I like the design. I think it's really nice to have the moss roof, the wood there. But it's taking up that whole forward space, it's only 38.8. You've got the pole. I looked up the city ordinances for making what do you call those things? Site clearances at corners. And I believe it's some kind of it's 10 foot and then an oval. And we've had people bump into telephone poles at the other end of our alley.
If it doesn't meet city code for site triangles, they won't approve that anyway.
Well, I think the city planning looked at it, and that would have been an item they would have considered, so this probably doesn't
nonprofit,
That's
not-
what, that's a variance. we all-
but the thing is that you can't, you know, it will be another structure there. But I was going to say, I thought, okay, this is really nice, you know, and say the zoning people are going to give in on all these, requests. I thought, well, you know, they could build a garage with pylons in it, because I figured this up already. I had this idea,
If you
I had this idea 2 days
if you
ago.
could start summing up soon, so we let other people have a chance. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
and I'm
Take-
just saying, well,
just
I'm the
take-
one that's sitting right next to the property.
Take another couple minutes to sum up, because I just.
I'm summing up that I think all of these, well, if you've been listening to me, you know exactly where I stand on this. And there's not much I can say more than that.
Can I clarify one thing you said? Did you say you both share tree number 1?
Yes, that's the largest, oldest one.
It just splits right down the parcel line? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, right down the property line, it's,
And then tree 2 and number 3 are both on your property?
pardon?
Three is on mine, 2 is over by,
2 is on
like,
mine.
the garage up there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I share one, we share one, and 2 is completely mine.
Okay, thanks.
And I appreciate your comment about the future and not harming the tree. And,
Thank you for
that's
taking
all I
the
need
time.
to say, thank you very much.
You can stay there and listen.
Oh,
if
yes,
see
thank
here.
you. Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, does anyone else here come to speak on this? Anyone else come to speak?
I'll say
I
something.
think you just name and,
Yeah, Chrissy Higgins, and I'm living at 332 Red Run.
okay.
And on that, I am, as well as living there, so I have that opinion, but also as a real estate agent, I would give an opinion from that perspective as well. So from living there, looking out at the backyard, which by the way, yes, your house is exactly what I see every morning. First thing I see every morning actually is right on my window. Beautiful, but looking, the whole reason to be there. We are doing a lot to beautify the house. It means that we know it and we're excited and we're turning it into an absolute beautiful on our side. Not that big at all, we're not doing anything like that. But nonetheless, we want to be there. We want to all work to be in Clintonville because of the gorgeousness of it, the beauty and the nature. My grandchildren were there today playing in the backyard. Like, I get that, we want that as well. But looking out that back and that beauty and the natural it's creating is exactly what you want when you live in this area. That's why you want to be in the Walhalla, right? You don't want to look out at a garage. So from us, from a living perspective, it's absolutely not desirable. But secondly, from a real estate perspective, I will speak to ours. You guys is forever home, so it doesn't really matter for resale. But when you sell a home, and I don't know the value, but it's a gorgeous home that they're building, so it's got to be well over $1 million. Don't think somebody's gonna wanna walk across the roadway to get to it, so it doesn't seem like a great real estate perspective for that, but that's not my business. It doesn't matter however you build a house and if it's approved, but from our perspective, when you're reselling a house, which again, we wanna live there for a long time, I want my grandchildren to enjoy it. However, when you look out that backyard, that is going to make a difference on our property values, or on her property values with a house. When you're looking out, people buy houses, especially in this area, because they wanna look at trees. Not because they wanna look at other structures that are like, wait, is that your garage? Is that your garage? Like, this doesn't make sense. So ideally, we would own that. That didn't happen. And when you moved in, I was like, hey, she didn't sell it to us. She said she was going to. Can we talk about it? And he's been incredibly kind at that point. I've met him a couple times. Super nice guy, as we see. Can't wait to have parties together, right? But at that point, I even said at the beginning, hey, but by the way, like, if we can still talk about this, you know, Louise would love to move forward with this part of it. And you said you had a lot of remodeling and some expansion to do. We'll get to that later. And I realized that the garage part came up, but like from the get-go, that wasn't the plan. And now there's just a lot of space to still be able to put it, but just maybe differently on the existing parcel it was on, rather than this one, which will absolutely impact us, not only on the daily, but on resale as well.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who came to speak on this and wants to speak? Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Give your name and
Greg Nutter, West North Broadway. I just have a question. for clarification, so really the variance that we're looking at is basically the garage itself, right?
It's only on the
Only
garage.
on the
Only on the
garage.
garage.
There's no variance for the house.
Okay, so my other question is, the alleys, those are actually City of Columbus alleys, working alleys on both sides where this garage is going to be?
Corner, it's on the
It's
corner.
on a corner?
Well, it's on, God's Run is a street, and then it's an alley is.
I tried to drive down there today.
It's
Just-
two alleys.
God's Run is
It's a little-
considered an alley.
Yeah.
A little bizarre to get through, but anyway,
Okay.
it's a very nice area, beautiful area. And I can see where the house where you're building, looks, so I know where the location is. I was trying to figure out where the platform would be, or where the parking garage would be. So, I guess my concern would be, one, is there a regulation that they can just build a garage on a vacant parcel?
The rule, they have to get a variance. If you cannot, that's one of the variances they're asking for, is permission to put a garage on a
Because
parcel.
usually on a parcel it has to have a house.
So, yes, they're asking, the answer is no,
they're-
you can't without a variance.
Okay,
Yes, you
so their
can.
parcel is right adjacent to this, where this garage is gonna be, is that correct?
It's connected to us.
The house is over here,
They
But
did,
their
the
property-
architect put the
their
house
property
on.
is right next here.
Hers is.
Yes. So that would be my concern. It's right next door, and I wouldn't wanna look at a garage without seeing a house there. But the lot's too small to build a house, so.
Can I say one last thing? When I talked to the lady, she said they could build a shed. She told me that.
We are less formal here, just the warning when you get to the commission, it's much more formal, and there's the time for comment, your time for comment is much shorter. And since we only have one last, if
I
anyone
just
else
have one
thinks
more.
anyone wants to talk.
I just
Okay,
have
then
one
you
more
get,
comment.
okay, let him, there you go.
I have no interest in this. I live on Como. My name is Jean Buddy. I just think it's bizarre to have this beautiful property and not be able to build a garage on the same property, but you're gonna go across the alley and build a garage. That's all I'm gonna say. I just think it, as a zoning thing, I just think as a landscape architect, I think that's bizarre. And you may be working with Urban Wild, but I don't think Amy would ever recommend that.
Then, again, you have one more colleague,
That's all right.
then, okay, then we're gonna let him have the last word, and then then it comes back to the committee. Do you have anything you'd like to say? Yes, you have.
Oh, I thought you
No,
said
no,
one more
no.
comment.
No, he said yes.
Oh, okay, beautiful. So in regards to variances, zoning, everything like that, I think that similar to the turn radius situation, like, obviously it plays a huge part in it, the turn radiuses, the staff approval from the city, it is the city blessing this project as it's laid out, and the city feeling comfortable giving a permit for that structure. That doesn't take into account, like, the garage is obviously on a parcel that isn't connected to the house, and is Clintonville comfortable with, allowing that to happen. I think that as it relates to trees, I have no problem committing to planting 30 trees. I have no desire, I'm going to be planting 30 plus trees, whether it's on my parcel, on that parcel that's behind us, that the garage is gonna be on, like, that is not a problem for me to be doing. The thing that, again, it's my word, I'm going to be trying to preserve as many trees as possible that are native species, and not the honeysuckle that more or less is taking up that lot right now, besides a few decent trees that we have. I know that, so we pulled up today, we pulled up the apron, we had already taken out the parking, the garage foundation and everything previously. But I mean, not that that really has anything to do with what we're talking about, but I would say, I'm doing everything in my power to make this garage as pleasing as it looks, as it relates to bringing in natural wood. It's going to weather, it's going to patina, it's going to take into account, like, with the green roof. trying to make it as less of an eyesore on you guys as possible. I know that, we just honestly really want the space for our kids, is to put it plainly. When it came to the geothermal, we really wanted the geothermal, make this house as efficient as possible. We have this lot that's being used as a parking structure already. Granted, there's not a physical structure on it, but it is a parking pad. It's taking up most of the parking pad. There will never be trees growing where that parking pad is, because we're going to continue to use it as that, if not the garage. And so I can leave it at that, but I think that I'm in real estate development. I go to a lot of these things. I've seen a lot of these sort of variances going through in a lot of other places.
Do you need variances just to put concrete on the footpad, on the footprint of this garage?
I don't know.
But that might be interesting. That might be helpful to know, because then the question is, are we voting for a garage? Are we voting?
I want a garage.
I know, but no. But what's the difference between what the variance gives you and what you get without a variance? So it's the question. Yeah. Without a variance, you get the footpad. You get the pad. You still get to put the pad in like you want, so that all the damage that comes from having the pad is still there, regardless of whether you put walls and a roof over it. And that's.
I don't think so, because if you're building a shed, if it's just there, you don't have to have approval, but if it's gonna be permanent structure on a pad, then you have to have
But only a pad. You just
right,
don't report
but
concrete.
that's what makes the difference, so I believe you would have to have the approval.
That might be something to find out, because that helps tell the commission that what they're looking at is, I see, former Chair Simbro shaking her head.
So Mike, something doesn't fit without getting the book out and reading, I'm like,
Okay, well then, that's one thing, you see what I'm saying, is when you go to the commission, tell them whether if they don't do it, you can still just put in the pad. Because that makes it, I think that could make a difference. That could make a difference, because then you're just voting on walls and a roof instead of concrete pad walls.
I hear what you're saying.
And I don't know the answer to that question, I'm not gonna assume the answer to that either way. But, do other people have questions for, did I interrupt you? Did you?
No, I mean, getting into, I appreciate getting into real estate and value and everything like that. I mean, the fact that I'm building it's obviously going to substantially increase your value in the house that you guys have, by me building the house that I'm building and everything.
Well, look, I think that's speculation. That's speculation both ways.
that's speculation for another day.
Both ways. But do you have any other points other than that?
No,
I have a question. So, why are you not able to build a garage on the parcel that your home is on?
So, the geothermal system that we're putting in, where the pylons are going in where the garage pad was.
Right.
And so then what would end up happening is you can't do it in the whole section, and wouldn't be able to be done where the garage was before. The other half of the lot then gets into really tight turn radiuses. We have another issue with the tree that it's on their parcel. That is a substantial tree as well, so it would be the same dynamic. It would just be between us instead of between us.
So would you need variances for that?
I technically do not believe I would need a variance for it. But
It depends on where the garage is, because in that case you'd be demoing a garage and putting a new garage in, like that.
not if,
I guess my question comes down to is, are you able to build this garage on the parcel of your house without any variances?
yes, you can.
And
Could you do it with the geothermal there?
No.
So,
you're saying there is other places.
So technically you could build it in a different location that would butt with Scott and Shannon's property. again, my opinion on this, and I understand that people wouldn't want to walk across the alley and all of that, is I have a parking pad that's being used as a parking pad that doesn't take into account, like, you're never growing grass there, you're never, like, it's not a usable space for anything else but a parking pad that we would continue to use. Why would I not take a garage, put it on that space that's already being used more or less as a parking area, to then be able to plant more trees, have a grass area for my kids, you know, bring in wildflower, like, it is something like that is who we are as a family, and to be able to do that would be a beautiful thing for my family.
I have one quick. Are the geothermal pylons already installed?
No, so the geothermal system on the inside mechanicals are all installed. They have not done the drilling yet to tie into it.
If there are other areas on your property where the garage should go, why cannot the geothermal system go there and the garage be sited where it is?
Because of where the mechanical room is and the runs that they have, they told me this is the best location for it.
Best location
Or
or impossible?
They told me this is the best location for it.
Have you investigated putting a geothermal drilling in another location on your lot?
Well, I know no matter what, because of the number of piers there are, it was going to go into, whether it's all the piers or some of the piers, were going into the garage. That would have had to be taken down anyways in order to put the system in. Does that make sense? So instead, all the piers are in where the garage is, but if it wasn't there, a portion of the piers were going to be going in where the garage is.
You talked about the possibility of alternate types of foundations for the garage.
Yes.
Is it a possibility to do that type of alternate foundation around the geothermal system?
I don't know.
You have not investigated?
I have not investigated that. I continue to go back to the parking pad that's being used. It's not.
I understand. The other question I have is, obviously, he owns this lot, and he has the right to build on it. Is there any kind of compromise you can envision being his neighbor that you would find acceptable for him putting a garage on that lot?
It would have to be one that would exhaust all other alternatives on a lot that is so large already to have the house. And I would think the architects designing the home probably should have figured this out when they were making the plan. And I don't know what compromise there could be, because there are so many variances. It's like putting a square peg in a round hole. I really do understand the idea of a variance. I gave a variance to my neighbors. They were building an addition to their home, and they were going to encroach on the land between the property lines. But they wanted to build a garage. I must have a thing with garages. They wanted to build a garage, and in order to do that, they were going to make the family bigger, make one structure. We had to okay the variance, we had discussions with them, and it wasn't going to harm us in any way. We had no windows that were going to face that structure, and nothing, and no trees had to be taken down. If there was a compromise, I'd have to probably, nothing I could commit to now, but I would be very open and happy to talk to anyone. You'll all have my email by now to let me know what you think may be a compromise. I would be open to your suggestions.
That would be unfortunately between the two of you. In part of this process, we really like to see the neighbors get together and try to work out a compromise between them. You know, we don't like to create tense situations between neighbors by approving or
I
denying
think it's a
variance.
great one, because you have the land, and you have a place for the kids to play, and But I'm saying the architect probably, there was that whole sunroom that you have going out there on that side. And I believe you already took a couple trees down because you put in the solar panels on that wall that faces west.
No, there was one rotten tree that had to
One
come
rotten
down.
tree. Okay. But anyway, there was another place the architect could have been creative. They could have even maybe done an underground garage. I mean, there's all kinds of things that one can do and
Maybe a big variance.
you know, I mean, you know, to read the code ahead of time before you do something is, and I know you mentioned you have development experience. I have 50 years of development experience. I have a daughter that's a landscape architect. I have a son that's an architect. And I had a
Okay, I
husband
think-
that's a civil
okay, I think we
engineer.
need-
I have been in more barren pieces of property where this had to be moved, that, I've been to variance meetings. You plan ahead. when you
Okay,
do something.
I think you made that point, and he gave you the floor back because he had, the committee member had a question. So.
That's the only reason I was answering.
And just one warning for the commission's meeting, it will be much shorter on this, so,
I understand
much,
that.
much shorter, so both of you, I'd suggest condensing, or, yeah, but, anyway, do we have other questions?
Yeah, I just want a clarifying question. I think you said at the beginning that when you were designing the house, you put the geothermal in, and then there was a point at which you had committed to the geothermal or designed the geothermal or whatever, where you realized you had to take down the garage. Is that, can you just clarify
Yeah,
that?
so, reality, what happened, Patriot Air, they are doing the mechanical system, they were doing the geothermal, it was time for them to come out, after we established this is the system we're doing,
Mhm.
and they're like, oh, we just had a rig come out, they can't get back here to do all of them because of the number of tubes that have to go in. So you either need to not do geothermal, or you need to take down the garage.
Okay, gotcha.
And I chose, I wanted geothermal, I wanted to go down that path. I realized that the variance process was going to have to come about with that lot. I saw it as a parking pad already, I figured that it could be used as a parking garage.
Okay, thanks.
I wouldn't count it, just, I checked the auditor's website, it's now listed, that lot is now listed for $55,800, but it's the appraised value is, although appraised value is.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. It's listed, anyway, listed as a vacant, it's platted as vacant, platted residential land. So it doesn't bother me, it considers the land use. Do we have other questions from the committee? If not, do we have a motion to?
Sorry, I have one thing, I wish Jay was here on this. He did tell me if I put a dwelling unit above and made it a home, I could have the garage on there without doing a variance.
Yeah, without that, you still would need the side lot variances.
Well, I could,
You would still need other variances for
Yeah.
the setbacks and lot size.
Or could you make a single car garage with something above it?
Just a variance for lot size.
That's true. Okay, yeah, I think that's one thing I'll try to get some clarification from the city on between now and the commission meeting is what they consider. Does he have a right to build something there, or does he have, might he be stuck with a shed? And I don't know what the legalities of that are. I know enough to know that I don't know.
I do think that's one big issue here. I think to do anything with this lot, you're looking at some number of variances to do that.
To do anything at all. Just
Otherwise,
like
it's
this.
just- Yeah,
And
it's just whatever that structure or use would be for this lot, you are probably looking at some number of variances to accomplish that.
maybe one thing to ask your lawyer to get ready for is ask whether the focus, what is the focus? Are we supposed to only look at this lot as in what are the problems with this lot? Or do we look at what happened across the street, what you did across the street? And quite frankly, I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, technically, it should be just the lot.
I mean, that's what my impression is, but I can't.
But there's, I mean, you can't, I mean,
Well,
nobody's ever getting separated too.
But no, but there, and also there's no, this is not a court, there's no.
Yeah.
So do we have other, unless there are other questions, we can put a motion on the floor and then discuss. We have a motion, have a motion to approve as submitted in the agenda, and
So
we have a second.
Second.
Okay. For folks watching, that just puts it on discussion, they're not committing to keep voting anyway, that puts the motion on the floor. Do we have any people have comments?
you know, putting the garage on a vacant lot, if you were going to do it anywhere, I think this is a non-obtrusive place to do it. And it's not like you're going down Chatham and drinking like that, and it's kind of out of the way, so I think, do it anyway, this would be a place to I think that, the property owner has done a very good job. He said he's done everything to make the garage fit, and I believe that to be true. I just have a concern about the trees, the way the garage will be constructed, and knowing that there is plenty of room on the existing lot to put a garage there. So I'm kind of seeing this as like not thought out.
Yeah, beautiful design, beautiful plans, it's lovely. I want more information on the turn down slab and like maybe get an arborist to weigh in on what are the statistical chances for trees to survive even that. I'm sure that they have numbers as far as we've done it here and these trees lived another whatever years, but I don't know that, we don't know that at all. We know it's bad if it's just a slab, that we do know. With this turn down slab, I don't know, and I would like more information on that. And we can't condition that. We can't condition that you do that, even if that turns out to be the best thing, which is a little bit of a problem for me. And then the 3 trees in question, basically, you each have 1.5 trees. She's got one, you've got one, and you share one. And you're affecting hers, not just yours. If it were just all your trees, maybe that would be different, but that comes into my thinking as well. And I wish that some of the, I wish that this application had come sooner before the geothermal stuff had started, because you do have enough room on your lot for a garage. But you've already you've already started the process, and now it kind of needs to be this spot. And that, to me, is like flirting with creating your own hardship.
Sorry, can I say one thing about the trees? So, like the second tree that is theirs, they had somebody build the addition and everything. Didn't you just say that you gave your variance
Oh,
to the neighbor?
this is another property. Oh,
Okay.
not this property. I
Okay,
own more than
she's
one
talking about a
house.
different property.
Two
Okay.
different properties.
Okay,
I
move
was
on.
just saying that.
No.
Moving on, moving
The
on.
other one's a 2.5 acre full property.
Thank you, we just want to clarify that.
Sorry.
Any other comments?
No, I was just finishing up with, it's, to me, flirting with creating your own hardship.
Anyone else want to?
I have several comments. I think part of what everybody's getting stuck on is the trees. And I'm very sympathetic to that. You don't want to see any trees that size or age unnecessarily damaged. But if you look at the arborist report, the clearance they're recommending for the trees pretty much preclude building on any portion of this lot. We're talking about a 75-foot.
Well, in my lot.
Well, then don't.
So, we're saying you would preclude any kind of construction on this lot. And I do believe property owners have lot is irregularly shaped and is small. So it would require a variance, a number of variances to build anything on. That even if it wasn't a garage, or you're trying to build a small single-family home on this property, you would be looking at probably a significant number of variances, just different ones that we're considering tonight. But I do share your concern, Diane, that it does also feel like the hardship has been created by, in part by the property owner's choice of geothermal. Appreciate your dedication to that, but there are other heating and cooling options available that wouldn't create this hardship.
I can see that. I can appreciate that this parcel has inherent hardships to construct on, but I think that that's a no, you know, and I don't think you can look at it in a silo. I think we need to consider, you know, the choices that were made, and, you know, it's an unconstructible lot. You do that without variance.
Yeah, I guess I'll say one other thing that you brought up, Mike, is trusting applicants to follow in on their word. We do that all the time. Go, okay, are you going to put habitable space in that second floor you're building in the garage? Oh, no, I'm not. And you just have to trust them. So I don't think that that's a,
Well, we don't know if that system can be done yet.
and I would really encourage the applicant to work out some of those issues. And I wish they had before they had brought this before us. It would make the decision a lot easier to have some of those answers, whether what type of foundation would be possible, whether it'd be possible to change the size and or location of the garage to minimize the impact on the trees, or even if it's possible to relocate some of the geothermal system to allow a garage on the adjacent parcel.
And I'm not an expert on trees, but I think, remember the sycamore tree that was in the parking lot? Right there at Torrance, of the Wendy's, the big sycamore. So, I mean, a lot of people think, well, it's the rain, you know, we need to feed the roots and stuff like that, but that shows that the tree can exist. It's the digging, it's the building of that foundation, ripping those roots up. I remember a tree on Tulane, when they were cleaning those gas lines and stuff like that. I walked past the house, I just saw what they did to the roots there, and I looked at the property when she was on the foot. I go, this tree's gone. And she goes, oh, no, it looks fine. 3 years later, the city came and took it out because it's gone. I mean, trees don't show that right away. It takes a while. But when you start ripping up those roots,
Or even disturb, I mean, you've done the blueprint, and on our street, you know, with all the sewer building, it took a couple of years, and all of a sudden we're watching trees not made it.
so I guess I'm saying you can't put it in a concrete pad, but it won't create as much harm as digging a footer and put it in all that way. And all that stuff. What is that?
No, all of, so, okay, so I would just be repeating everything you guys said.
Okay. What we do then is we'll vote, and if you wanna give, you want them to give their specific reasons, or did you catch what we were saying before?
Oh, you watching the video.
It's nice to have a video.
And I will,
I did listen.
okay, I'll make sure that, by the way, after the meeting, it might take me a few minutes because I want to make sure that that gets properly uploaded. So if I give you the brush off, that's because I'm trying to make sure that the YouTube thing works. Then I'll call for a vote, and you give your, so you don't need them to give additional reasons that they've already said it.
No, I'm good.
Used to watch TV.
I'm going to put a page here, so. Okay, go ahead.
No.
I think while I'm supportive of the garage in general. I think there's some unanswered questions about the elevation and the geothermal system and some different possibilities for siting of the garage that are unanswered. Really like to see answered. In the absence of those answers, I can say no.
I'm gonna vote yes, understanding everything that was, just been said, and I get that this is a hardship, potentially of the homeowner's, sort of process, but sometimes these things happen, and just taking the owner, at his word, knowing that, he didn't realize the garage would have to come down until later on in the process, and knowing that this site, is currently used, for parking, so we're not changing the use, or, you know, obviously we're not construction, but we're not changing the use, so I'm gonna vote yes.
I'm gonna vote no, just due to, negative impacts to neighbors.
I'm gonna vote yes, and that's because I'm saying this to if I'm wrong, you can show me, you can explain to the commission I'm wrong, but I think we look at only this lot, and I don't think we look at what happened across the street. And I think with this lot, if he is right, he needs a variance for anything, if he's gonna build anything, this is the least impact he could build if he's going to build something there. And I would be, if he does have a right to build something there, and to get the variances to build something there, that could include a small house that would be even more detrimental to the lot than this would be to the lot. And for me, I'll defer to the realtors, but I would think that this would be a place Airbnb would be drooling over. If you had a garage with a thing over the top of it, I could be wrong. But again, I'm saying that because if I'm wrong, you can go tell the commission next week Hardwick was wrong with this explanation. So my vote is yes, but it still fails by a vote of 4 to 3. This recommendation goes to the commission, 4 to 2, oh, excuse me. Thank you for correcting me. That would be bad.
2 to 4.
2 fails by a vote of 2 to 4. This goes to the commission, and just so everyone knows, no one on the commission is on this committee, so you get a fresh slate. The most important fact that what this committee does is hash through issues and give you a chance to have the long form discussion so that when you go to the commission, you don't have to do the long form again. The next thing we do before we leave is announce the next meeting of the commission is this Thursday, July 6th at 7 p.m. at the Whetstone Library. The agenda will come out in advance from, I believe it's from Chair Vaquero or from, is it Brittany Bolton who sends it out?
Yeah.
Brittany Bolton, Vice Chair Brittany Bolton. Usually it's around 8 o'clock they start here, but it would be wise to get there when it opens at 7, when they start at 7. Because it's the library and they get kicked out at 9, so they have to finish by about 8:55. So the discussion, that does limit the discussion there. Some people think that's bad. Some people think that's good. But anyway, our next meeting, if we get the variance request, which I don't believe I have any now, would be Wednesday, July 26th at 7 p.m. here. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Any objection? We are adjourned as of 8:24. And that is still on until the red light goes off.
So, what's